look very professional, Bill.
I do. Change the whole thing.
You look legit. You look like you read.
That's the aim I'm looking for right there.
Dave looks like he cleans windows.
Not very well.
No.
It's like the body print on that Vidara window. That was the greatest thing ever.
Wasn't that in the suite when we got up there? I had the suite, Dave, years ago. Bill and I met early, and we had this 2-bedroom hospitality suite. And Bill and I got in there just to go over some stuff, and we like opened up the shutters. I think we put on a ball game or something. We were hanging out, and as we opened up the shutters, all you saw was this like body print like against one of the mirrors.
Yeah, there's like 2 like smashed boobs. So good.
We really got to, can you get housekeeping up here, please, to clean the inside body prints off the mirror? The
We sat there and laughed for like 5 minutes though.
No, tell me about your weekend.
I had a very boring weekend, as usual. But the highlight of my weekend actually started on Friday.
Next.
Yep. I passed last week, if you remember. Friday was actually really cool because my son got to actually go through his like 6th grade transition to middle school. So they had a ceremony at the church and then a mass and stuff, and it was really cool. They put together like all these videos of the kids through the years. I don't think there's a dry eye in the house. Like they just all the way from preschool to 6th grade, and teachers got to talk about him, and just it was a really neat thing he got to do. This has been a strange year, and I definitely feel for all the seniors and all the people, and both in high school and college who didn't participate in this stuff. But it was really neat they were able to do that. Like they just lifted the restrictions. We all wear masks. It was a really super limited affair. But my highlight happened on Friday, and this week's highlight already happened today was Susan, Eric's wife. Eric, who's not here, his wife posted a Schitt's Creek Hero Lies a new montage video that was
it's great,
absolutely rock solid, and so that's a good way to kick off the day. And I encourage everybody to watch that if they're a Schitt's Creek fan.
I love that show.
Yeah, and it's weird how it sort of snuck up on me on how good it was over the years, where it wasn't until probably like season 3 or season 4, I'm like, my God, this is a really good show. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. David, what'd you do this weekend?
So some more of trying to get this house, more getting the house prepared. But one of my good buddies.
It's been 6 weeks. You should have been able to build that house by now.
Exactly.
A whole edition.
Well, I just take a hammer and nail an hour a day, and then I don't even know where to put them. I just take them, different rooms, set them down, walk on.
And got to take a bike ride this weekend. All that,
That's
relax.
nice. What type of motorcycle do you have?
I had a gig on Friday.
Yeah, so
Saturday. Friday or Saturday? Friday.
Here's my impression of Dave during his gigs. He says like, wasting away again in Margaritaville. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Hey, what's your name? You like that? Yeah, what's your name? Susan, huh? Susan. Hey, Susan, I'm Dave. How you doing? What's that? No, I'm talking, sir. I don't care if you're the owner. No, I'm talking. I'll sing when I'm ready. Hey, Susan. So, hey, can somebody give me a Corona? Corona? I'm ready. I'm ready for another. I'll sing when I'm ready.
Orange whips all around.
Whips.
What's your
Orange
name?
whips. Orange whip. Orange whip.
3 orange whips.
So anyway, that's I do watch I always step in and I'll comment something just to try to throw off his game.
The last one I'm playing, and this woman, it was her 40th birthday. It's like, oh, hey, whatever, your 40th birthday. And Joe chimes in, and I see it. He goes, she doesn't look a day over 39.
Yeah. So, and like I see him look at stuff and comprehend it, but he doesn't relay it to the audience. It's really important.
No, he does that, but he also said something too. I caught it. Was like, he's like, hey, and thanks for what he said. Yeah, you fuckers back there, whatever. So it was something
like going laugh or something like that. I'm like, you got another job. Fuck you. I'm still playing. I don't care.
It's always so good.
Brent, how was your weekend?
My weekend was full of trials and tribulations. After my first year anniversary with Lisa, we spent much of our time debating over what words could be found or not found in Urban Dictionary. We had many debates over what words could.
Almost every word is found in Urban Dictionary.
Almost, but words like another word. Like, words like that. We just went through those quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we did that.
Especially like that last one.
One of the things we did was Lisa is a distance runner, and I said I wanted to run with her because it's something we could do together. I haven't run in 30 years, and we did 5K on Saturday, and I couldn't really move much after that, but I did. And then we watched a bunch of stuff that made me cry, like David Hudson. So basically, the woman broke me this weekend. She just broke me down and beat me up just to build me back up.
5K up in Canada is what, like 100 feet American?
5K? I don't know. Maybe since Jarek just showed up, he could make himself useful and Google how many miles that is. Hold on, I'll tell you.
No,
but we did that, and we.
And then what did you watch that made you cry? Tell me it was a Google commercial.
No, we watched the Apple Plus stuff. Dear ... letters to people, like different people, like everyone from Spike Lee to, like, they have everyone. We watched Spike Lee. We watched Lin-Michael. What's Lin-Michael's last name?
Jan-Michael Vincent.
Lin-Michael Manuel.
Yeah,
Is that
Kirk
him?
Thomas.
Who wrote Hamilton? Who?
Oh yeah.
Person, that's who.
I'm a horrible person. That's what I'm being told. Yeah, we watched a bunch of them, and they made me cry. And then I watched Black Klansman. That also made me cry.
Oh, that is great.
And then,
that is great.
Finally got around to watching it. It was it was fantastic.
So good.
Welcome to your Monday Morning Roast. I'm your host, Joe Webb, along with my co-hosts and best industry friends, Bill Playford, Brent Wees, David Hudson, and Eric Miltsch. Thank you so much for showing up. Even though you know exactly when this starts and you text us nonstop about it, you decided to show up late. Really convenient. Nice. We occasionally bring in audience members to join us. If you have something to say on the topic, just alert us, and you add it to the chat thread, may be invited to jump on the call with us. Just know you will likely be subjected to a late roast, hence your Monday Morning Roast. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
So, by the way, this week's episode is brought to you by the Old Copper Penny Bar and Grill, Nickel Draft Tuesdays, 5-cent Wing Wednesdays, Karaoke Thursdays, Cops Drink Free Fridays, Family Day Sunday. Bring your kids, parents, all you can drink. The finest bar in Quails Roost, Arkansas, with curbside delivery. Look for the elk on the sign. Old Copper Penny. Thanks to Eric Miltsch for getting us that sponsor.
Yeah, thanks, Jarek.
Well done.
That's probably why you were late.
Indigestion's always free there too. It's great.
He's going to mute himself for the whole thing, just as a
Meeting. That's why.
Protest.
Yeah. So if I can, this weekend, my wife has fibromyalgia. So she has been, she's had a flare up or whatever, which means it's like multiple pinched nerves in your back, where she literally hasn't been able to walk. When I tell you she has been bedridden for 23 and a half hours a day since Friday, she doesn't get out of bed. So I've been sort of trying to care for her a little bit, but letting her either, if she's not sleeping, she's in pain. So I just stay away. And I took care of the kids a lot this weekend. I was super dad. So I did like multiple loads of laundry, folded them, put them all away. I did stuff around the house. Obviously, all the meals. I did a couple of things of dishes. I mean, I was super. I made homemade cookies. I was a superstar.
Did you make homemade cookies, or did you make them from Pillsbury? Did you just cut them up?
No, I think it was Nestle. I'm not an ass.
No, then you didn't make shit homemade. You just made cookies. Don't say I made
something on a pan.
Cookies. No, you bought shit from a store that was already like put together, and then you
warmed them up.
Oh no. No, I bought like the Nestle chocolate chips, and then I bought the flour and.
That's what I said. So you made them from scratch.
Yes.
Joe's weekend sounds like a Thursday for me.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
3 days of Joe is an afternoon of Bill Playford and 8 kids.
So on Saturday, I took the boys. I took the boys to, there's a charity that we do a lot of stuff with and we participate in called Nathaniel's Hope. And it's specifically dedicated, one guy started it up several years ago when he lost his child. And it's fully focused on celebrating children with special needs. Well, they had a big event at a drive-through safari, like wildlife park, down just south of Disney. So I took the boys there, and so it was like an hour and 10-minute drive. Wait in line, and then you just drive through the park. You see all the animals and all this stuff. But what amazed me about that, because it was a lot of fun seeing all these different animals, and they're up real close to you. My favorite animal is a buffalo, as Bill knows, or bison. So those were there aplenty.
Those are good eating.
Yeah, they are, admittedly. But with that said, I was really I was really impressed by the sheer amount of volunteers that they have. And I mean, I think you guys all know I've always sort of been an asshole. I mean, I'm sort of known that, but I'm the asshole with like a heart of gold, which is I think the type of person. I think it's the type of person that you want. That's the type of person that you want around you because they're fun, but they care. There's other people who look really nice on the outside, but deep down they're miserable people, like Eric, who doesn't take people's time into consideration. So I will say that when I was in college, I used to actually donate a lot of my time and energy doing stuff for charities. I mean, I would go out. I did a lot of stuff for the Special Olympics in Iowa. That's another story that Bill knows. But I used to dedicate a lot of my time, and with all the terrible stuff going on in the world right now, I thought it'd be nice to just talk about how, like, we need humanity more than ever before right now. And it seems like in my old age, all I do is I show up to these events and I donate money, but I really don't always dedicate my time. So I'd love to just hear about some of the good that we've done for the community to start. And I'd like to start with Eric, because I don't know if that's for the community, but Eric, you lost your best friend, Mike, a handful of years ago. And all the four of us have tried to replace him, but still nowhere close. But you started your own fundraiser for Mike, like a golf outing or whatever that I know Bill and I donate to as well. But just tell me a little bit about that charity or anything else that you do for the community. And thanks for joining. No, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. No. No. Whenever you're ready. Okay, hey, Brent. Brent,
yes.
Tell me about some things that you've done for the community above and beyond running past. I'm guessing the 5K. Nobody just does a 5K unless it's for a charity, right?
No, it was just we did it to go out and run.
Oh, really? Okay, well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, you're being chased and then charity. That's
I still think I ran this weekend. Running's still fucking stupid. You should really only run if the police are chasing you or a bear is chasing you. Those two things.
Whoa. You're gonna go toward a mountain lion?
Oh, yeah, you are, because they're cuddly, because they're squishy.
Very squishy.
While Eric figures out his audio, I do. Well, we talked about it before. I've been 25 years in AA, so there's a lot of service work that I do with that program and within those groups. So, and what that could mean is, like, when I first got sober, I would be out sometimes 6 nights a week at rehabs or detoxes, probation offices, halfway houses, putting on meetings, like just going out and putting on meetings. Every sort of region, as AA is involved, has like sort of what's called a central intergroup office. And that office will then organize itself amongst the community. So there's lots of different associations that are running rehabs, that are running detoxes and things like that need members to come in, or going into jail, like going into jails and putting on meetings in corrections facilities as well. So
is there a point though, because you can't really get alcohol in jail, right? Can you?
No, you can make it. You can make it in jail. You can get everything in jail, dude. Don't be so.
You can
don't
make
be so
alcohol
naive.
in jail.
Yeah,
you
it's
know
real
what,
alcohol, dude.
Joe knows about
You can
prison
make
wallets, okay? It's all about the prison wallet, Joe. You know that.
Dude, you can get everything in jail. And moving on though, so AA is very much about service work and getting out of self and being of service to others. And that's in my early sobriety. Sometimes, so there's a duality of that program where a lot of people just sort of get into the 12 steps of that program and figure out what's going on for them. When I first got into the program, all I did was service work. I'd get on my bike and ride to some meeting. And part of it too for me was, and then I'll pass it back to you, Joe. But I always found, and I tell the story when I'm speaking at a meeting and I talk about service work, is when I was newly sober and I, was just fighting my own brain of whether or not to go to meetings or not at all, not wanting to, really not wanting to do it at all. I got myself surrounded by a bunch of guys that like just got me busy in service. So I'd be riding to these meetings and I'd just be like so resentful that like yet again another one of my evenings taken away from me to go put on another effing meeting at some detox or something. And I always left those meetings feeling miles better than I did going in. Like there was always, like you met someone, there was a conversation that happened. You were just, you know, being of service to others, you might have helped someone that day from creating their own chaos. So that's always been really important. And there's been lots of other charities and sponsoring, you know, kids. You know, I put a young lady through school in Uganda through a program that a friend of mine started. And I was thinking about that again after watching something going, that's something maybe I want to do again in the future, because we took her through grade school right through to post-secondary, which was kind of cool. So I think to Joe, to your point, it's not just about giving money sometimes. Like when you're giving money like that, you're actually proactively giving someone an education, directly giving someone an education.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I think what I see now, which is uplifting, and I hope it's actually resonating, is don't just post shit on social media about what you care about and what's important to you or what's devastating to you or what's terrifying you. You know, put money into funds, you know, if you're going to do that, put money into things that are actually doing some work, or get out and get your hands dirty, like Eric has with his friend's charity, or with a school, or what have you. I know Bill has done that. So I think for me, it's just, with AA, I've been very lucky because it's been very hands-on. It's not just, I can't sit back and just support it from afar. I'm really active in my own group. I'm its treasurer. I sponsor guys. I take them through stuff, help them figure
How
their
long you
shit
been
out.
sober?
It'll be 25 years in November.
God, can you imagine how much more fun he was 25 years ago?
Yeah, I guess, you know, there's times where you look back and go, oh, maybe I was more fun, but you know, I created just as much wreckage. So
No, I know, I'm teasing.
you know,
Hopefully you didn't have
Can you
that.
hear me now?
Yeah, thanks. Oh, I guess Brent's finished.
Jeez.
You're ready to talk?
Are you ready to talk now, Eric? Are you ready to go
I'm good
tardy,
if you're
Jared?
done. I'm good if you're done.
I'm all done. That's my piece, Joe. So thanks for letting me go first because of Eric's tardiness and lack of technical skills.
Yeah.
But
So
Maybe he could audit. Maybe Eric should audit his own computer setup today.
I need to.
Free audit of that.
Well, everybody knew about a lot of people knew about the golf tournament, which was a great thing. We raised a lot of money for Donate for Life. Mike was able to save 4 people's lives the day he died from his own donations. But the one that I did want to talk about on top of that, Joe, you've heard me talk about this a long time ago, actually, and I'm still involved with them just from afar. But I'd love to get back involved. I'd love for everybody to know more about it. It's an organization called Go Baby Go, and I fell in love with this right out of the box when I heard about it and I saw it. So I got involved with them because I found out it just struck a nerve. And what it is handicapped children. They don't have the ability to move around, obviously, and mobility we take for granted. You know, when as kids, that's such a huge part of everybody's lives growing up. Well, what we did was we build little Tykes motorized vehicles, and we changed around the steering, we changed the seating, we added padding, additional harnesses, because these are little kids. Some of them, you know, they can't walk, they can't move on their own, they're severely disabled, and they're sedentary, and that just changes everything. And the thing that people don't realize is how much this actually impacts the parents. The parents can't have a normal life as well. And I talked to some of them, and it was just gut wrenching, honestly, to hear these parents talk about, you know, I see my other friends, they take their children to birthday parties. They don't do things like that often. And when they do, it's very uncomfortable. So, excuse me, what we did was we put together this group. We had probably like 40 people come together. We break off into groups, and everybody builds these vehicles. The instructions are all built in, and you work as a team to build it. And then you literally present the vehicle to the child and the family at the end. And oh my God, it's the most incredible experience, because these kids, you put them in, you simply show them, where the gas pedal now instead of being on the floor. Because some of them can't use their feet, but they can use their hands. And so, for instance, the little girl that we built, she was able to move her left hand, and we put the start button right on the door. And then we put a regulator on there so it adjusts, so it's not full power. And she was able to still steer with the extra little thing that we put on the wheel, and to be able to start and stop. And the moment that thing moved, you could see their faces just light up, and the parents, they started tearing up. It was just awesome to see. So again,
That's awesome.
Go baby go. I'll give a cool
Badass.
shout out to Will McGinnis as well. Will McGinnis actually organized one for one of their teams, a huge team over at V Auto a couple years ago, and they did one, and it was a great turnout. They built a ton of cars for them. I think we wound up building like 8 vehicles altogether. So just an awesome experience. If
So
I could,
and
it
you
would
build
be that once a month.
you build these things for small children. I'm guessing they use you just to like put you in the seat and measure everything out to make sure it'll fit them, right?
Yeah, so we spend time with actually meeting the kids and the family, learn about their disabilities, what they can do, what they can move, because they're all limited, they all have their own individual thing. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But being foreshortened yourself,
being that little.
Yeah.
model to figure out the
Yeah.
And you're
It's like-
itty bitty, like
It's
you
like
are, Eric.
they pick you up and they place you in and be like, I think this will work for Jessica. And then
Yeah.
Well, this is how I would use it. So
Yeah.
this is how we build it for the child. So.
Except with Eric, the extra restraints and gaff tapes.
So Bill, talk to me about some of your charity work.
Well, one, Eric should have went last, for Christ's sake. Okay, like
Yeah.
it's impossible to follow. So, I actually am involved in scouting with
Incredible.
my kids. It's something where, as an organization, clearly is not in the best of shape right now. But I just think it's super important that kids get outside. They learn skills, with being in front of a screen all the time, especially now since school went, from home. That's all they do is stare at a computer screen or a tablet all day long. I just felt it's really important that kids get out there, understand, get out in the woods, build some team skills, build some leadership skills, and really just like be able to tap into that side of their lives. So I've been involved with Scouts since Andrew was in first grade, so about 6 years now. So actually in the committee chair of our group. So I gotta tell you, it's really hard to get kids involved in stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
especially with travel sports. It's sports, especially our kids at school, because they win the football championship every year. Like it's like every other year they win. So it's all about sports. So they don't ever get involved with like how to make a fire or, how to like not get poison ivy, just very simple things like that, or how to handle a knife. And so it's a big deal for me, because I think kids should be able to understand those things. One of the things I struggle with a lot as an adult is being able to do stuff. Still to this day, I'm almost 43-year-old man. Using
you
power
still ask
tools.
Carla. You still ask Carla to cut your food for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I don't know.
You never had knife skills.
Never had knife skills. Never learned it. But no, like just like being able to build things and things of that nature. I'm still learning to do that stuff all the time. And my dad took a lot of time with me to try to help me how to use, power tools and how to cut boards and that type of things and measure things and teach me the geometry of that. And it's only now I'm engaging those skills. And so I really want to impart that upon kids now, so they don't forget about it. So they don't have to pay for things all the time. And so it's something I'm really passionate about. My favorite thing I was involved in, though, when I was about 23, 24, actually, I organized for a group of kids from our church to go see the Pope in Toronto. And we did a ton of fundraising. We really helped out the community. And then we went and ended up joining up with just over 1 million people in Toronto from all over the world. And it's so powerful. I might actually get choked up. But it's so powerful to see kids from South America and Europe and Asia, and they're doing the prayers, the same prayers we're doing, but they're doing in their language. Especially to the Pope, who's now a saint, actually was pretty awesome, because the way he would talk to the audience, he would just transition from language to language, just flawlessly. He'd be going along with a sermon, snap into German, snap into Spanish, snap into, like about any dialect you can think of. And there would just be like this whole like wave over the audience when he would talk to them in their language. And it just was a really cool experience. I actually got to see it twice. The coolest thing that happened both times.
That's a little greedy, don't you think?
No, it is greedy. I went and saw it. I went as a kid, and then I took a group of kids. So I gave back. I paid it forward, Dave. So eat it. So, but the coolest thing that happened both times, and just take this for what you will, dear audience, is that both times it was storming, pouring down rain. Pope gets there, stops raining. It just was a Mile High Stadium, full crowd. Pope lands. They bring it up on the board. They're showing the camera. stops raining, double rainbow goes over the stadium. I shit you not.
No way! I swear to God, what does it
I
mean?
swear to God, what does it mean?
You know,
So it's just being part of that, for whatever that was, being part of that with so many people and being with your closest friends and family, amazing. Second time, I actually brought my wife. We've been dating, I think, a month, and she came on that trip, and she converted to Catholicism. It was so powerful for her from being a Baptist. So
just
it's pretty awesome.
so every time Dave does a gig, the clouds open, part, and the sun shines in, and everybody converts.
It does.
Yeah. Dave, what do you do to for the betterment of mankind?
For a long time, I've been on the board of directors at the Boys and Girls Club here in Elgin. For the past several years, there's the big gala that I'll be the host, and set up, and I'll shoot all the video for the marketing of it. That's pretty much it. Yeah, but I have been on board now for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I think. Just with all the traveling I had been doing, I kept on not having opportunities to be at the meetings.
No, I get it. Listen, it's so hard with an adult schedule, I find, to dedicate too much time. Like when I was in college, you had unlimited time. Like I used to have, as stupid as it sounds, a rule where I had to do one good thing for somebody a day. And that could have been like helping an old lady with her groceries into her car, which I did countless times. I'd hang out at Tate's grocery store in Des Moines,
He'd push her
Iowa.
down first.
Yeah.
Push her down
and then
Take the
help her.
groceries,
Push her to the
put them
ground.
in my trunk.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of there. No,
Run her over with his car because apparently he gets into a lot of accidents.
I used to. But with that said, I still will say that
you can still see the halo around your head, though, Joe. So it's good.
No, trust me, you can't. But I mean, like I did so much stuff for us at the Special Olympics of Iowa. I will tell this story real quick. Over the course, I used to stand out on the street corners on like sophomore and junior year, maybe even freshman year, and on weekends and collect money for the Special Olympics of Iowa. There was the stupid vest and everything. And the most anybody ever gave me, somebody pulled up, gave me $100 bill one time, right in the can. In the cup, I should say. So, what's that?
Pardon me?
Yeah. So I had put together a bar games or bar Olympic charity or whatever for my fraternity and sororities, and we raised money as well. Well, over the course of 3 or 4 years, I had put together so much where they invited me to the Special Olympics of Iowa. And one of the things that they allowed me to do was give out medals to the runners. And Dave's heard the story. So it's one of the most heartbreaking things. On average, there's about 10 to 12 kids a race that are racing their hearts out for the Special Olympics, all these track things. And then I'm allowed to give out some of the medals. But what they don't tell me before I opt to do it is that on average, they only have 9 medals. And then that there's 10 kids line up. They have them line up afterwards, and you have to give 9 out. And then the 10th one, there's not one there. And they're looking at you. They're looking at me like I'm a piece of shit, like I'm withholding a medal from them. And it's the worst feeling. Had I known that, I was a bartender at the time. I would have taken money out of my own pocket and bought extra medals. But I have to explain to this kid that there's only 9. I'm sorry, And
Could have been faster, Junior.
Yeah, no, just terrible.
You just avoid eye contact with them.
Dude,
Wait, they don't give medals out to every one of the Special
Just walk
Olympians,
away.
but yet
Yeah.
every other Little League soccer tournament, everybody gets a trophy.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They have 5,000 trophies.
So I'm inviting Jay on to join us here as well.
What's up, Jay? Can't hear you, bud.
Yep, hold on. He's got to unmute himself. How you doing, Jay?
What's up, guys?
Jay went to Eric's school audio training. Doesn't know how to turn his shit on.
This must be the greatest school in America.
Touche.
I thought he went to Jarek's School of Medium T-shirts.
It was
Exactly.
Dude,
Is
this
that baby gap?
shirt used to fit like 4 years ago
Before you hit the gym.
before I hit the gym.
Before you bought it.
It fit one of your kids 4 years ago. It's
Look,
a size
actually,
extra
it fits.
medium.
It fits fine everywhere else. It's just my arms. I don't know what happened to my arms. They're just mutant-sized arms for my body. You can't buy stuff the right way.
Like you mean small?
Like Ant-Man arms?
He's the guy that walks around like this. He's the guy that walks around like this in the mall, just like.
Listen,
Dude, Jay, explain the T-shirt.
Yeah, I've been trying to understand that. What's going on?
So it's a great business idea that I wanted to share with you guys because it's. I mean, you got to get in on
Is
the
it an
ground.
automotive business? Because we'll boot you if it is.
yeah, we can't talk automotive.
Can't talk
No,
shop.
it's not automotive. It's
Okay.
it's
All right,
brilliant.
good.
Okay,
All right.
so it's ice cream, right?
All right.
Where we offer the ice cream for free, but we rent you the spoons because you can't eat it without the spoons. It's
The hell you
brilliant.
can't. The hell you can't. What about somebody that wants it down a cone?
Dude,
It's brilliant.
how many
Chandler
drinks
knows
did you have when you came up with that?
I'll
Like,
take
were you
mine.
20,
I'll
I
take
say
mine
28
in a
drinks.
cone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay,
Oh,
you do realize,
drinks.
We
Jay,
don't
you do
offer
realize you
spoons.
can eat ice cream without a spoon.
Yeah.
With your
you can eat it
face,
with,
you can eat it with your face.
hands.
Listen,
You a caveman?
Jay, make it soup, dude. You gotta make it soup.
It was soup originally. This is not my idea. I got it from the show Martin from the '90s. So
Okay.
listen. I'm a big Tisha Campbell fan. So hey, listen. Well, we all know what the heck's going on in the news, so we won't unless you want to get in that topic. But what do you do to sort of help out humanity or do good for the community, or what do you want to see done good for the community?
Well, I mean, it's several layers. Personally, I've been mentoring young men for years now. The problem starts to be with the mentorship is you tell them what to do, you try to lead them down the right path, and they say, well, Mr. J, I did that, or we do that, and the results aren't what you say they should be. You know, you can completely comply, you can completely do everything right, and still you end up on the news. So it's hard to explain that to a young man and try to set them straight with, because the one thing that's missing that no one really talks about is hope. If you don't have hope, guys, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you felt like you didn't have hope, but when you don't have hope, it leads you to decisions that aren't necessarily great for you or anyone else. If you can't see tomorrow, it doesn't really much matter what you're doing today, if that makes any sense.
So
what
yeah,
Jay's saying,
I'm with you.
What Jay's saying, though, is with setbacks like that, right? With hope is, sorry, Joe, to step on it. I just think that's really poignant because, you know, the minute that's removed, too, to Jay's point, it's amazing how fast you focus on just the negative and everything in the negative. And you always hear people talk about friends or colleagues or people they're mentoring who go through that. It's almost immediate. So it's pretty frightening. So I applaud you on mentoring and helping these guys out, because I think, as we talked earlier in helping sober guys, is there's lots of starts and stops and lots of stumbles. And I think it's the long game, to your point, Jay. And I think that's like with you guys are mentoring, like how long is that window with these guys? Like you say you've been doing it a long time. How many of these guys did you start with how many years ago that you're still doing it now?
Right. So that becomes the problem. You lose them along the way whenever something comes up and it doesn't ring true anymore. You know, it becomes, that's fine and dandy if everything was the way you say it was. But then when you go out and experience it, and it's not the same way. Yeah. And I've already come in with a misconception or a reality of my own to the scenario. And what you've told me doesn't play out, you're no longer valid to me. Right. And you got to think about it, guys. You don't have the same level of resolve. People in certain situations don't have the same level of resolve that you or I might have at this point in our lives. So it doesn't take much to knock them off.
And, if I may, I will say, like, everybody has different experiences. Like, even if somebody came up in the exact same area, exact same town, exact same color, exact same socioeconomic status, exact same family system, everybody's experiences and how they deal with things are entirely different. So whether or not what somebody tells me resonates with me because they have a similar background to me, sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. I think that's why so much of it is about like almost a personal connection. And that's what I want to talk about, humanity. It's like, I think social media in a lot of ways have made us a lot less social, and we are having personal connections a lot less than we ever did before.
Yeah, I want to tie those two things together, because I think one of the things I ran into, Jay, is that working with young men and women, especially in trying to build businesses and working on entrepreneurship and stuff. And Dave and I actually talking this a couple days ago, but like, what do you do with the young people who just feel like they can't? They get to a certain point. That's something that when you said that resonated with me right away. And to Joe's point too, the social media, like, you got all these people saying, hey, you can do anything, you can do anything. But then you get down to it, young person's got a great idea, but then they realize like, hey, like I can't follow through on this. Listen,
so long as it's nothing about ice cream without spoons, it's a great idea.
Exactly. But no, but I'm gonna say, like, how do you help them overcome that barrier? Because they can push through that. People do every day.
Yeah, and so I'll just speak from personal experience, right? I grew up in Baltimore, like in the middle of the city, and I was fortunate enough to be intelligent enough to actually have to get bussed out, and I got to see a different life. You know, I had to come back home every night, but during the day, I was able to see something that extended beyond my block, and I was literally next door to people who were, in my opinion, smarter, more intelligent, more driven, but they didn't have that lens that I was able to get exposure to, so their outcomes are drastically different. You know what I mean?
Do you think that gave you hope?
I know it gave me hope. There's, without a doubt, it gave me hope. Our reality, like when you're in it, it doesn't feel as bad as it is, right? Because everybody's kind of in the same boat. But when you can't, like we didn't think about travel, go somewhere. You can't go anywhere. Right. Where are you gonna go? Nobody went anywhere. Like
not everybody's in the same boat though. That's, you know what I mean? That's a fallacy that we're finding out now, right? Like it's not everybody's in the same boat. That's such utter bullshit. And it's so false. So to someone like what Jay's saying though, to be bust out and come back to something, and it was something like I said earlier, I was watching the Deer series on Apple TV, and Spike Lee was on talking about getting letters from people and just talking, and there was one guy who wrote him that really, I'm going to pull a Hudson here and start crying, but there was a guy who went into corrections and while he was in saw the damage he was creating to his own neighborhood. So to Jay's point, it's interesting how you can be taken out of your neighborhood, entitled or not, and see a different reality. And I think it's good for everyone to actually see both sides of it, because when he went into corrections and came out, he saw the damage he was doing to his neighborhood. So coming out, it was, and because of watching Spike Lee's films and different things, he was like, I'm going to do better. I'm going to start things in my neighborhood to make it better. But I also think it's because we're not all in the same boat. And I think it's good for people who come out of better situations to go into, and it's from everything. It's from, if you travel, like, don't go to a resort, don't go on a cruise ship, like actually go to a country somewhere else and see how those people live, or go to another neighborhood and help that neighborhood get better, right? Like even if it's just from a build project or a mentoring project or whatever. I think what Jay's saying is, and for lots of people, it's like, what do you do with that experience when you go see it? And I include myself. I don't do enough of it anymore. I used to spend a lot of my sober time in detoxes and, you know, halfway houses. I saw that, you know, the end game. But I think that we have to get away from the narrative of, you know, we're all in the same boat. We are fucking not in the same boat, not at all, right?
But I think there's something to that though too. I think there's a lot of just ignorance though, that people just don't know what they don't know. You know, I think when I hear, I did the opposite of what Jay had to do, right? Growing up in the country, like I had to go to the city, and a lot of people from where I grew up in Cornfield County, like, you know, they bitch about Detroit, but they've never been to Detroit. They bitch about Chicago, but they've never been to Chicago. They've never been, I mean, they haven't been to any part of it. Not just the good parts or the bad parts or the culture parts or whatever, but they don't know what they don't know. And I think it goes to show you had something inside of you, some fire that goes, hey, I want to see what this looks like. And that's how I was. And Joe and I talk about all the time, like, I didn't learn about any inner city stuff until NWA came out, and hearing Chuck D, like that was like my gateway into that life, because we didn't have that, you know, and I still look up to those dudes, you know, like I'd love to meet Ice Cube or Chuck D someday, because like they taught me so much, but they opened up that gateway to where I was curious. I wanted to see that, and I wanted to get to know other people and go to different neighborhoods and see other places. And you know, I think that no matter which part of the spectrum you're on or what part of the country you're in, whether you're in Toronto or, you know, down in Florida somewhere, like go see what that, you know, other stuff looks like. And like to Brent's point, don't just stay in the Marriott, like go out and take a walk and go see what's going on around the area you're in.
Yeah, it gives you a different appreciation for life in general when you see how other people have to live it. Yeah. You know? I think personally having to live it and then being able to see others who didn't inspired me. Yeah. You know, I know for a fact my life would be drastically different had I not had those experiences.
Yeah, that inspires me though, dude. Seriously, like that lights a fire with me. Like it's cool that you're involved with trying to help other people do that stuff, because, you know, we should all be doing that every day. You're never too old for that stuff.
No, it's almost Yeah, and it goes back to what Bill's saying. It's almost like that, that weird thing. Not, it's not weird, but like, Bill's talking about scouts, and it's almost like this, it's something where kids just aren't involved in that kind of stuff anymore, right? Like there's almost like this like old school thing that's being lost because of social media, because of devices, and what I guess, and Lisa and I were talking about this on the weekends, like what can I show my daughter? What can I share with her to always allow her to remember about what really goes on and read more into it. So as all this stuff has been happening in all these different protests, my daughter has posted things on social media, but I'm also sending her full-length articles and different things that people like Chuck D have shared. Like Chuck put up this thing on this, he shared it, someone else's work, like an animated walkthrough of systemic racism in the United States and how it started on redlining. The one on redlining, right? Killer. So I sent that to my daughter and I said, watch this all the way through so you understand it. Like and you guys know this, I always bark on this all the time, is we don't dig into it enough. And I grew up in Chatham, Ontario, where the Underground Railroad came out, right? Yeah. So I grew up in an area that was a part of the history of slavery. Like that was the end game, right? That's where people came out of and escaped to. So I grew up in a neighborhood, and I was talking to Lisa about this, is my growing up, and we've talked about some of the things, and I try to do this with my daughters. My parents were very upfront about how things went down in different places. And I have friends whose parents, lived the civil rights reality as Black people in the United States. And my friend's parents' house, in his mom's kitchen still is a coloreds only sign that was from, a building in her town. So it's that sort of, we talked about this before with Memorial Day and people talking about their rights and their privileges. It's like, man, like people need to always, you can't put it aside, right? You can't brush anything aside of like what happened during different like world wars, or what happened in the States during the civil rights movements and things like that. I think maybe that's, to Bill's point about how Scouts sort of just brings kids back to the basics of things. Maybe that's what we have to do as parents and mentors and people, is to go, there's things you have to come back to as human beings, and maybe that's it, right? Like I was saying, and I'll shut up because I've been talking about it all weekend, but it's kind of like what's happening right now is like the Me Too movement's happening to cops, right?
Yeah.
What's happening, right? Like it's like Me Too's happening to cops now, and it's good that it's happening. But I think part of it is, while this is happening, as fathers and parents, we have to bring our kids through the history of it to get them here, because they're seeing one incident and a lot going on because of that incident, and going, well, here's the long tail. Yeah. Back to the start of the century and the start of the last century, and before that.
It's also filling in the blanks of what the narrative doesn't say. You know what I mean? Because the riots in Detroit still resonate with people in the suburbs. I mean, to this day. So it's 50 years ago, and people are still still feeling the burn from that. But they don't know the whole history behind that. They just see the tanks rolling through the streets. That's the part that they seem to remember. They don't remember all the awful things that happened up to that point. And like, that's the point. And that's going to what Brent's saying, like with my kids, like that's the history you teach all the different angles of it. So they know, what led up to those things. And it wasn't just some spontaneous, conflagration that just came out of nowhere. Like it's a decades long thing that builds up.
Yeah. Cause Jay, you had it, right? Your folks probably took youth guys through, lots of, I mean, I won't speak on your behalf, but I have to imagine that, growing up as a Black kid in the States at our age, your folks probably walked you through a lot of the background, not just the bits and pieces.
Had no choice, in order for us to remain successful and me to know exactly how the world was. The great thing I like about what I was exposed to is I was always exposed to it in a way that like labeled it as the history, but didn't label it as everyone's this way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I never went into any situation with a predetermined outcome. I just expected humans to act like humans until you showed me otherwise, and that was very helpful for me, because I got thrown into it at a young age where I was in different cultures that I had no knowledge of. And you know what? I can tell you I know it helped. I know it helped.
What I will say is, all the turmoil that's going on in the nation right now, or in the world right now, I really hope ends up turning into something for the good of society, and isn't just looked back at as as something bad that happened in society. And the one thing that gives me hope is the sheer amount of young people that 100% get it, that we're not raised by the type of people that we were raised by. Like even my children, Bill's children, Dave's children, they would not understand racism. They just wouldn't understand it, or they wouldn't get it. They've been so acclimated into media and culture and diversity from wherever we take them, all the schools. So I would like to think that it's like a lot of this, what gives me hope is the kids of today, they're not going to stand for the type of shit that happens now. They're just not going to stand for it. They will oust everybody and anything in the future as soon as they get, because they don't understand it. They don't know it's cruel to them. And for that reason, and I'm sure there's some people being raised by absolutely horrible sons of bitches that, but I will say, those are far fewer than ever before, I'd like to say.
That's what I like to believe. I always tell, anyone who will listen, I think it's way more good people in the world than the people who are getting all the attention. I think that's true.
No
right.
question.
I think that's true regardless, right? So what I did, I went out and I protested with my daughter because she wanted to, which was amazing for me. My daughter's 18 and she's typically was a muted kid. Like she's not your, like she doesn't have my personality. She has more of her mom's personality.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you, it was warm this weekend. Did you wear a smaller t-shirt when you were out protesting?
I actually
No,
didn't wear
but the shirt said "Rent those spoons."
So anyway, the protests, while she was participating, I looked around and it's so many youngsters. I mean, so many, and they are absolutely intolerant of everything because they are tolerant of everything. So a black person going through something is no different to them than anybody else that's going through anything. And that's how it should be. We should be that way. We can learn from the babies, right? So I loved it. The energy there, the everything about it is going in the right direction. And prior to that, I will tell you all, I don't usually feel helpless or hopeless, but I felt immediately like, if this can't galvanize everyone because of how blatant it is.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I never do this. I never read comments off of the thing. But Micah Burkholz said something that I think is it just really nailed it. Hit it right on the head. He wrote, "My parents were raised to be racist. Our generation does whatever we can to not be racist, but our kids embrace race." And I think that really, from a generation standpoint, that really hit the nail on the head as far as I'm concerned. Great way to do it. So, I mean, hey, listen, Jay, we appreciate, listen, you're a friend of ours anyway. We appreciate for having you on. I did have a question. Of all the people that you worked for over your life, why is Keith Latman your least favorite?
I never said that. I don't know where you're getting this from. You've never heard it.
Hey, what I want to know though is how proud of your daughter were you though? I mean, you had to have been just like bursting at the seams. I mean, come on. I mean,
over the freaking moon, dude.
Yeah.
Like I was so. You just have to meet her to know how much of a big deal it was. But then her awareness is through the roof now because, I protected her most of her life. Yeah. So she didn't have to see it. But now she's remembering when she was the only black girl in her class and things like, so it's resonating with her. It's bringing up a whole new amount of emotions and awareness for her. But we are diligent, in our pursuit of being right-minded in this scenario and not giving up based on the surroundings, So if we can get to the point where everyone treats each other the same way, the golden rule, that's all anybody wants.
We don't have to treat Eric the same way because he was late.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's a piece of shit.
Or ice cream eaters either. Ice cream eaters and Eric.
You make Eric rent both spoons. He has to rent 2 spoons.
I can't figure out how I'm supposed to drink this tea without a spork.
Exactly. Rent the night for my coffee.
Jay, thanks for joining us, man. It was great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Your feedback.
Hey, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
No.
Is it your birthday today?
No, my birthday was last Monday.
Yeah. He's my age, and I'd like him to tell me how he looks so much younger than me.
Well, before
Eric's barber.
Tight close.
Before the grades started rolling in, I could give some 20-year-olds their run for their money. Not physically, but on paper.
Yeah.
Like just from doing quizzes or crossword puzzles?
Yes,
or is it just filling out your art application?
Hey, tic-tac-toe, I blast those kids.
I beat him on paying taxes.
Yeah, paid the shit out of those taxes. Take that, kids.
All day.
Take care, man.
I appreciate you.
See you, Jay.
He's
Awesome.
such a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So I haven't teased him about
2 spoons, please.
well,
He got jacked up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I gotta say though, hey, listen. Before you talk though, I just want to say I'm really proud of Dave for not taking a pee today during the show. I really am.
Way to go,
it's
Dave.
not over.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
it's
don't
not
know.
over.
We're at 5 minutes.
We don't
5
know
minutes
if
and
he
Dave
did.
hasn't left for the bathroom
You
yet.
saw me like this.
Again, he's done that. Wait a second.
Gone twice.
Wait a second. He's done that 4 times. I will say, like, I remember the first time when I saw Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. The night I met my wife, when we were leaving the theater, there was a guy who his entire jeans and pants were just piss soaked, and it's because like apparently it was such an enthralling movie. He just said, if it's between missing 45 seconds of this masterpiece or pissing in my pants, I'm going with the latter. Like he must have had that decision where he's like, it's too good.
I'm just astounded how we could have such an hour-long amazing conversation with someone like Jay Bear, and then we bring it back to fucking Star Wars. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, hey, you know what? Now that we've talked about racism for an hour, let's roll it back to Revenge of the
Hey,
Empire.
look,
You know,
not to take anything away, but it is amazing to me.
shut up, Jar Jar Binks.
No, how many people rooted for the rebels to fight the Galactic Empire, and now all of a sudden there's all these people on social media like, no, you gotta let the Galactic Empire go and keep ruling. Like, you know, all of a sudden it's all these people, all the rebels taking to the streets and protesting. All of a sudden they're like, no, let the Galactic Rebels do what they want. Did you guys see the footage of all the officers walking down the street and a guy with a horn goes dun, 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 dun. So good. Anyway, regardless, I think from a humanity perspective, we can all do a better job. I know this is supposed to be
Yes.
where we roast each other, but we can all do a better job being nice to each other. I mean, not to you sons of bitches. I can tease you all I want. But and you know, truth is, I don't like a lot of people. Period. I don't like them. But that doesn't mean that I want to have ill will fall upon everybody. I want good to happen to everybody I meet. That really is the truth. Knock it off, Pancho.
Jesus H. Christ.
Yeah.
Poncho's
So-
sleeping in the bed.
I'm teasing. Who? Yeah, never mind. So I just think it was a good conversation for all of us. It was great to have Jay on. Eric, when we all leave, are you going to stay on for an extra 4 minutes just to make up the time?
Yeah, just by himself because he was so late. Extra 4 minutes. That guy's
No, I'm
17
actually.
minutes
I
late.
gotta leave early. I got a meeting I gotta get to.
Emergency meeting. He's gonna
Yeah.
sit there. He's gonna eat his grape nuts as everybody's chewing on right
James
now.
has James has
45
locked
minutes.
himself in
This
his
is
car again.
Metamucil. He's got to be regular.
It was a good talk today, guys. Great to see you. I do have to leave though. I gotta hop on a client call.
You go see a man about a horse.
Yeah. So, well, thanks again to Jay. Great comments on
Yeah,
Mike.
Jay was
too.
fantastic.
You leave and I'll stay on with the rest of the people.
All right, guys. Take it easy. Have a great week.
Eric, thanks
See
for
you later.
joining. Love you.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the effort.
Jay
again.
is our second, or Eric is our second guest of the week.
It's the second guest.
What a jerk. So
That was
I
a good
swear to God,
show.
if he's not on early next time, we just go. I'll start now writing down roast just to think for him. He won't make it out alive. So anyway, thanks for Dave for dominating the conversation.
Well, that's interesting about this particular group right here.
Mhm.
I can really give a shit about, so that's why I put in that the effort that I did. No, you know, it's funny. I don't know how many people actually know this, but I'm, you know, half Mexican, and I come from a very diverse area. And my grandparents, the house that I actually grew up with them a good portion of my life, were the first, like one of the first Mexican families to move to this town called Carpentersville. You know, my cousins and stuff, they all had darker complexions than I did. But, you know, everybody kind of knew. And quite frankly, I got a lot of, you know, shit when I was younger for being Mexican, you know. And friends would come over and my grandmother would be listening to the Mexican stations. It'd come and go, what the fuck is that? What's that all about, you know?
Tejano?
Again?
Although people-
Again?
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know I was Mexican. Anytime I would hear some negative remarks about Mexicans, and even still today, it bothers me. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't look at, but I know of it.
And you
And listen,
speak
it's
Spanish?
like this. If there weren't people in my, family history that didn't cross the border illegally, I wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big deal. You know, you meet my family, and they're just beautiful, funny, amazing people.
What happened
and
to you?
quite diverse as it's gone down the line, right? But it's interesting. You know, I understand that just a little. You know, listen, I grew up poor. I had the shittiest house on the block. So even the status of, rich, poor and all that, a lot of my friends had money, and so it was always very embarrassing to have the shittiest house on the block.
Have them throw coins at my face.
I mean, listen, there's some times, there's some times,
Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of shows, that really demonstrates to me the difference. So is like, little known fact, I'm a son of a teenage mom and a high school dropout. Okay, like my life could have been very, very different, and that to me is a demonstration of what some people are going through and what I didn't have to go through. Like I was still able to level up and level out, and that's when I think about it. And just think about how different people's lives are. Like for some people, that's like a death sentence almost, to have that type of parentage, like or not having parents at all in that situation. A lot of times you grow up with your abuela and that's, whatever, like you're not getting that chance. And I think that's the hard thing for a lot of people to realize, is they don't see that part. They see their struggles and they go, well, it sucked, but I made it through. And then there's a lot of those people who never get through. They can't. They're not given that chance. They're not given that lifeline. Luckily for you, it's the same thing happened. Like you were able to level up and level out, and that's how you grew up. But
interesting. A lot of
that's
people,
why it's,
even growing up, as I got a little older, I mean, I think people thought, because of who I hung out with, I guess, that, because of what I did and how I was, that my family was rich, that everything was perfect. I mean, even today, people think that. It is as much of a struggle as it's ever been.
Yeah.
Dave always in those really expensive Z Cavaricci jeans.
Gerbose, did you say?
Damn, Dave's got another new Walkman.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, is that another Hobie shirt? How many do they have?
But I think you make a great point about the people having to cross the border, and like a lot of Americans started their life that way. I mean, no matter what, whether it came on a boat or came from the northern border or a southern border or whatever, but like they became Americans. And I think it's really hilarious to me that some of those same people are like, build that wall. It's like, it's not good enough for you. You know what I mean? Like it just really blows me away how things can change and people can forget that. And they don't know their history, going back to our points earlier, like they never took the time to look back at that. And I just think there's something, in a way, it's like, it's just perversely funny, but at the same time, just it could not be any more ignorant in the world. Like you forget all that stuff.
99% of you are immigrants, and you will always be that way.
Yeah.
Check show your work.
Did you see that a Native American chief or something of a tribe still was standing up at a community event talking about what's going on, and maybe it was about coronavirus. It was about maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and the local congressperson said, I want to even know if you're legal. I want to even know if you're legal. And he's like the look on his face is like, what, son of a bitch, me? So I mean, at the end of the day, I think everybody comes from different experiences. Everybody comes from different backgrounds. Brent's from Canada. I can't get worse than that.
Better.
Yeah, exactly. Already better. By the way, with that said, I will say, I don't want to go on anything saying be nice to each other. There's no good way to wrap this up other than I think it's time for everybody to become more. I think if everybody was just straight more educated. Sorry, it's not in sense. Education goes a long way towards solving a lot of ill will and B inequalities, and I think that's what we can do. Hey, Hey,
Yeah.
Lisa, thanks for walking by.
Listen,
You just did the drive-by.
I'll take that a step further though.
Wrap it up.
Okay. Get off the goddamn meme reposting on Facebook. That's not enough. Read a book. Go
Yeah.
talk to somebody. Go meet somebody. Get
Volunteer.
uncomfortable. Like join a group. Like that's why I said like I literally put go do it in my name, but that's it. Like it's one thing to talk about it. I see all kinds of like armchair warriors the last couple of weeks, but like get out and do something. Like and get uncomfortable in the process. Learn.
Yeah.
Like you're never gonna learn by just sitting in their echo chamber and people just feeding you what you already know. That goes for everything in life. And we kind of hung on that in automotive, but just in general, what's going on across
Well, it's unfortunate that this happened during the coronavirus because I think, could you imagine if people weren't worried about their health or the health of their loved ones, how much more crazy this might have been. This could have been.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Hey, guys, as always, love
Hey,
you.
Joe.
Take care. Good show today, and we will talk to you soon.
Hey,
Hey,
listen,
Chuck,
next
hey.
time we're going to talk about when we save someone's life. Wasn't that part of our show?
Yeah,
today?
yeah, we didn't get to that. We didn't get to
But
that.
Eric
I
left.
had,
That was
I had a hell of a story. I've been waiting this whole time, you pricks.
Yeah, I know. Hey, listen, I've got the stories as
Yeah.
well. So
Hey,
I promise.
it's the second time that Eric picked the topic, then like just
You
fucked
got
off. on
bailed
it.
late, and then he bailed.
Eric picked
It's
the
okay
topic.
though.
Comes late. Bales doesn't
Yeah.
record it. No, really cool.
It was better talking to Jay, anyways.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
big shout out to Jay. That was huge. That was awesome. Appreciate
Yeah.
him coming on.
Yep.
All right. Thanks. And Dave, next time we'll give you some, hey, want to thanks Lindsey Buckingham in the corner. Okay. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Play
Take care.
Tusk.
Big guy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.